you feel fulfilled in love? The show will begin in 4 minutes. Are you ready? When was the last time you felt betrayed? When was the last time you felt loved? The show will begin in 3 minutes. Are you ready? What did it feel like to be in love? What is the most painful part of being in love? The show will begin in 2 minutes. Are you ready? Are you ready to be transformed? Are you ready to make a change? The show will begin in 1 minute. I hope you're ready. The show will begin in exactly 30 seconds. Get ready. What if I told you that getting men to love you deeply and intensely is possible no matter what you look like? What if I also told you that the only way for you to earn that kind of love from a man is for you to first understand his needs? If that is knowledge that you want, join me on today's show where we'll be discussing the key to understanding men's needs in a relationship. That way, you gain the skill set to be able to grow a bond that is stronger and deeper with a man than you ever have before. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so I know you're here present and actively participating. How are all of you beautiful people doing here on this beautiful Friday afternoon? Who we got up in our chatties today? I see we got Raina here, Nora here, Rosemary here, Bittersweets is here, Ash is here, Bellis is here, Go Plant is here, May is here, Gabriella is here, Maya is here, and of course we have our moderator Scotty Shreese and SH here. Welcome all you beautiful people in the TikTok chat. Who we got over in the YouTube chat? I see you guys were patiently waiting. I see we have Electric Feel here, Mary Kim is here, Andrea is here, Kayla is here, one of our most generous members in the YouTube chat. We got LP Baby here. I see we have some of our channel members here. Welcome, one of our channel members, Henya is here, Tracy Niles, who's always here right on time here. Oh, one of our new channel members, I see a Nikki Nicole, or is that the same Nicole but in a different name? No, I see the other Nicole. We have our other Nicole, Nicole number 2 or Nicole number 1. Maybe she's the OG. And I see we have Great Fortune Cookie, one of our channel members as well. Welcome all you beautiful people in the YouTube chat. Let's get started with our first point of the day here. Super duper important, okay? Now, the reason that we're having this show is not just because I always want you to be thinking about how to serve your man, but I also want you to understanding your man and what you do for him will also help you better receive what you want from him as well, right? So let's start off with number 1, which you're probably not gonna like, depending on your vibe, okay? Now, this is super important because I always get this question whenever I state this or say this, okay? So we're gonna have this here and we're gonna sketch out real quick. You know, last time we were on the show, we had a real tragedy in terms of my drawing skills. So today I'm keeping it nice and simple for all of you beautiful people in our chat. You got a nice little nose there. Maybe you had a nose job in your past life, all right? So this is you over here, right? You're in passenger. We'll just say pass, okay? Princess pass. Okay, and then we have the driver here. Now, here's the thing. And a lot of you ask me this question. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of you, but some of you. Whenever I say, hey, you know, in a relationship, your man is supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the head. And it's not that you don't have skill sets. It's not that you don't have a say. And it's not that you're not smart and intelligent, but everyone has their specific role. And all of your thoughts and actions get taken into account as well. But here's the thing that when I gain pushback, whenever I say this, this is what's usually happening. See, when you think about the idea of relinquishing control to a man, sometimes you might get the sense that, oh, wait, no, I can't relinquish control of myself to a man. Then he's going to manipulate me. He's going to take advantage of me. He's going to use me and abuse me. Tomisin, I even hear you talking about it. Yes, a man who has the wrong intentions is going to take control and then he's going to figure out how he can take advantage of you. But in a healthy relationship with a man that you trust and you're safe with, you should be able to relinquish control. And I'm not saying control over your actions and everything that you do, but I want you to understand that in a relationship, when you're in your feminine energy and he's in his masculine, everyone is playing their own specific roles in order for things to work how they're supposed to work. So let me give you the best example that I can possibly give you on why this works well. If you two are driving a car and let's say the destination of your route is supposed to be to a restaurant that the two of you are going to go to, I want you all participating early today in the chat, so you better be paying attention. You have your pencils and pens out and your ears perked up because I'm going to ask you something and it requires you to respond. Tell me in the chat, which is a better way to get to your destination of that restaurant? Is it by version number 1, him driving the car and you guys getting to that destination by him driving in the driver's seat and you're a passenger princess? Or is it in version number 2 where you take the wheel as well, you put your feet on the pedals as well, and both of you are trying to drive the car to the same destination at the same time? Tell me, Which version do you think will get you there safer and more efficiently? Version number 1, in which he just goes ahead and drives the car and you're a passenger princess? Or version number 2, in which you take the wheel and you take the pedal and you attempt to drive along with him while he's also attempting to drive the car while you're attempting to drive the car, okay? I want to make sure you guys are paying attention. Let me see your answer, version number 1 or version number 2, okay? I see a lot of people saying version number 1. Someone said version number 2, we're going to crash and burn. Precisely, Andrea, okay? I'm glad you're all paying attention. The reason for this is because we all have our own specific roles. Now, let me throw in a third scenario, in which in this scenario, not only is he the one driving, but you also, and your job as passenger princess, you handle all of the directions here. And you have your Google Maps out telling him which turn to make, exactly when he's supposed to make it, and what exit or side of the lane he's supposed to be in. Now, let's think to ourselves, which is actually the most efficient and fastest route to get there? Is it this new version in version number 3, in which he's driving and you're also giving him directions to make sure that he gets there the quickest and most efficient way possible, right? Now, when we factor in the fact that you can also play your own role in getting to that destination, not in the same way that he's playing a role in getting into the destination, but in a way that actually makes it that you guys can work together in your own separate roles. Now, when you guys are working together, it makes the process even more smooth, right? And as a team, you guys are able to reach heights and are capable of things that would be harder or more difficult as individuals. So this, in this example, is the perfect example to me of why it's so important to understand when I'm talking about control and a man's need to be in control. It's not because I want him to be able to manipulate or abuse you or take advantage of you. It's because in a healthy relationship, he plays a specific role, and in his specific role, in his masculine energy, there are places in the relationship in which he is the most comfortable. The same way there are places and circumstances and situations in your romantic relationship that you will be the most comfortable. And when I talk about control as it relates to men, you have to understand men have a need, a desire to feel like they're in control. It doesn't even have to necessarily always mean that he actually is in control, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But what I want you to understand is the best way to serve your man in a relationship is to allow him to be able to feel like he's capable of making decisions, to feel like he's intelligent enough to make decisions, to feel like he has your trust in him to make good decisions. Because the same way a man can start to feel so down on himself that he makes all the wrong decisions and does everything wrong, is the same way you can actually instill a lot of confidence in him to factor in your needs, to factor in his own needs, to factor in your children's needs, and attempt to make the best, most logical decision for everyone in this situation, right? And I obviously don't necessarily want you to give control to every man that you're going to meet on the street. What I'm talking about when it comes to control is being able to allow your man to lead when you actually trust his decision making, when you can actually ensure that the man you picked is intelligent and capable enough to actually make good decisions. This is why it's also very important to not only date men just because they like you, but to date men because you actually see them as capable men. I'm going to say that one more time, okay? We're going to rewind so that you don't lose sight of that. It's not just enough to date men because they like you. That should not be your only qualification. You want to date men because you actually see them as capable men, capable of leading you, capable of leading your children, capable of being a father figure, capable of having understanding and knowledge and knowing how to deal with stress and situations. You should be dating a man who you actually trust and see capable of doing that. If the guy you're dating, you don't even trust to relinquish any of your control with, and you don't even trust to make good decisions or be intelligent enough to be able to decipher and decode information and make good choices with you and in the relationship, then that shouldn't even be a man that you're dating. And that, for some of you, that may be your realization that you end up making, is that when it comes to control, Tomisin, you're telling me men have a need to feel like they're in control and they're capable of making decisions, but I don't trust this man to make good decisions. Well, then you need to go and pick a different man. Because the man that you end up in a relationship with, you should be able to trust in his decision making. And if you don't, we have a different problem on our hands. Okay? So let's hop into our point number 2. I hope that makes sense to all of you there. All right? This eraser is better than the one from yesterday, at least. All right. So I talked to you about, and we're going to get a little bit juicier as time goes on, so don't you worry. I said earlier that I wanted to finish this. I said earlier that I wanted to expand on control and how you're going to properly do this, because it's not just about you not making any decisions here. It's also about you understanding how to allow your man to make some decisions. Okay, so let's draw a scenario here with your large head. You have a large head, very large. I don't know how it got that big, all right? And we'll give you a nice smile here with your nice small triangle body. You got a petite body today. And we're gonna draw your man here. His head's a little bit smaller, less brain space, I guess. And you like stick figure men, all right? This is your vibe. So here's the thing, okay? What I want to kind of help you visualize and picture is how suggestion will work in your favor, not only to get what you want, but to also allow the men what they need in a relationship, which is an ability to feel in control. Okay, so let's imagine in this scenario, both of you are at the mall somewhere or whatever the case is. And at this mall, you guys see what is, oh boy. Okay, no, we can't do this today. We're not doing this today. I mean, let me draw this better than that. Like that. Draw it like that. Okay. And then this right here. All right, let me focus, chat. Let me focus. Right there. All right, so we're gonna draw these roses, all right? They're red roses. And you guys see these red roses at the mall here, okay? All right? And you guys are shopping together. You see a pile of red roses and you go up to the red roses and you sniff the red roses and you're like, oh my gosh, baby, I need to tell you how much I love red roses. These are literally my favorite. I've always dreamt of having a garden. Can you even grow roses? I don't know if you can, but let's just imagine hypothetically. I've always dreamt of having a garden in my backyard where I can grow tulips, because tulips is my number 2, right? The lavender ones, tulips, and also red roses. I really love roses. I don't know why. It's just always been a dream of mine to get the largest possible bouquet. Have you ever seen that bouquet that you go like this? You literally have to hold it like this in order to get a hold of it. I've always dreamed of having a bouquet like that of roses, right? And you put a lot of emphasis on it. And you smell the roses and you let the moment soak into his brain, okay? You're doing something for him and you simultaneously. Because the power of suggestion is in line with everything you want to be doing for yourself and also for your man. See, suggestion is so powerful in understanding men's needs because when you allow men to feel like they came to their own decision, especially when you allow them to feel like they made a decision to do something for you that made you happy, it's the best version of a gift that you can receive or action that you can receive from your man, because he doesn't feel like you demanded him to do it. He also feels like he was able to get his own wheel spinning, think through things, think about your happiness, and make a decision for you and for your happiness because of his ability to make intelligent decisions, okay? And remember, when we want to kind of encourage your man to flow in the right direction, and we want to give him the ability to feel like a man in this relationship, we never want to make him feel like he's not capable of making good decisions. And we want to kind of put the dots so close together that it's almost impossible not to connect them. But we never want to connect them for the man so he can continue feeling in his masculine energy. Because remember, as he continues to feel that way, he continues to treat you a specific way, and you continue to be able to receive in your feminine energy the way that you want to or desire to, okay? Right, so in this example, that is exactly what I'm trying to describe to you, right? You make it so clear that I would really, really love red roses, whether it be for a special occasion that might be coming up like Valentine's Day, or for my birthday, or for Christmas. I don't care when I receive, you can even say this, I don't care when I receive it, it always feels special. And this is where you get good at the power of suggestion. You can also do it anytime you pass some roses. Because some of you might be thinking, I don't know, Tomisin, my man, he kind of dumb. I don't know if I saying it one time, he's going to remember. He always seems to forget everything. Then what you do is every time you come across some red roses, you do the same thing over and over again, right? You etch it into his brain how much you love those red roses. Every time you pass them or see a picture of them or see a video of them, you send him the meme that has the roses in it. When you walk past the roses in the shop, you stop and you smell them again, right? When you see another woman who has roses, you make a comment on every single time. You're reinforcing. And I know some of you are hearing this and going, Tomisin, this is so stupid. This is so pointless. I shouldn't have to do all this for a man just to know what I need and to give me what I need. He should do it the first time, or I should just come out and tell him, get me those red roses, sir. And he should be willing and happy to get me those red roses. I know in a perfect world, that's exactly how it would go. But that's not the world that we live in. And I'm telling you as a man, the best thing for you to do is to use the power of suggestion to allow your man to continue feeling like a man and to also take control of the situation, practice taking control of a situation, and practice making the best decision for you, even if you don't necessarily ask for it. Because what you're doing, as you're making him feel like a man, you're also training him and training his muscle memory to be able to understand, okay, these are the things that make my woman happy. When I understand something that makes my woman happy, I take it into account. And everything that I do, every decision that I make, I'm always going to be factoring in my woman's happiness. If there is something that is happening or that I can do that will make her happy, I will remember and put it into memory to do that thing. If there is something that I'm doing or saying that makes my woman unhappy, I will remember to make sure I stop doing that thing. That's how you kind of want your men to be thinking. That's the snowball effect that you want to take place. That's the muscle memory that you want him to be building up over the course of time. But remember, men can't actually feel like that. They can't feel in control of their decisions and feel like a man in their decision making or capability of decision making if you take the job and responsibility of all of the control in the relationship to the point where you tell him exactly what he needs to do for you at each step of the way. You might think to yourself, well, Tomisin, that's the only way that I get what I want. If not for me telling him exactly what I want, then he's not going to be getting those things from me. Once again, then you need to be thinking about probably finding a new guy. Because what should happen is when a man desires you and wants you, right? And he actually wants to be with you, you're also thinking about, okay, if he really wants me and wants to be with me and desires me, subsequently that means that he also cares about my happiness. Because it doesn't work, they're not exclusive to each other. Sorry, I should say they are exclusive to each other, and you can't have one without the other. Meaning, if a man likes you and is invested in you, he also cares about your happiness. Meaning, the power of suggestion will work perfectly when a man has real feelings for you. The power of suggestion only doesn't work if a man doesn't have real feelings for you. Because a man can't care about you and not care about your happiness. There's a reason we have the saying, happy wife, happy life. Because men understand that true happiness as a man is only real happiness when your woman is happy. If he's sitting down and eating a meal and he's enjoying his meal, but you're not enjoying your meal because they got your order wrong, or they added pickles when you don't like pickles, or they added tomatoes when you don't like tomatoes, he's not going to be able to enjoy his meal. Don't matter how good it tastes, don't matter how amazing the sandwich is or the beef is, he will not be able to enjoy his meal if his woman that he cares about is not enjoying his meal. Okay? So I just say that to help some of you understand who I know can get a little bit confuzzled at this concept, right, of suggestion, and why you never want to do too much in terms of telling him how to do things and what exactly needs to be done each step of the way. You got to give men space to be a man and feel like a man. It's so, so important, okay? Now, in this third point, okay, we're going to call this stop pooping time because this is so important. we'll call this stop pooping time because I think this is the most important concept for you to understand in the entire show, okay? So if you're on the toilet pooping, you're gonna snip off your poop, you're gonna stop pooping at this point, okay? If you're in your bed with your hand in your pants, you're gonna take your hand out of your pants and you're gonna pay attention to me, listen to my voice, and look in my eyes and pay attention to this board. I'm not joking, okay? So in this point here, see, what you need to understand about men is, all right, let me get to the example and then I'll explain to you why this is important, because me giving you the explanation ahead of time is not really gonna make sense. So let's just get to drawing here. Trust me, chat, we're going somewhere, and I know this is gonna sound very weird to you, okay? Especially for some of you who are, you'll see. Okay, so let's build a hypothetical scenario in which your man comes to you and tells you something secret, okay? Something he's been holding back for a while, that he felt a little bit weird and awkward telling you at the beginning of your relationship because he wasn't sure how you were gonna take it, okay? And he tells you, look, I just wanna let you know something about me that I just feel I can't hold in anymore. I have this thing where I really, really love feet. And when I see a nice pair of toes that are painted white specifically, okay, and you know, I just see a woman's feet exposed, it turns me on so much. I can't even describe it. I don't know why. Ever since I've been a child, I've really, really been in love with feet. And honestly, there are days where we're together and you're putting your feet on me when we're laying down and watching a movie. And all I can think to myself is, I want to suck your toes so badly, I can't even pay attention to what we're watching. Remember those times where you would ask me what was going on in the show and I would be like blanking out? I was literally fighting demons because I was thinking about sucking your toes the whole time and licking your soles. And then your response is, ew, that's disgusting. You like licking feet? My feet are so dirty. And you're thinking about licking, ew, like, ew, you want my toes in your, that's disgusting. Why do you like that? That's so gross. And then in his mind, he goes, oh, it's not even, you know, I'm so dumb. I don't even know why. It's not even a thing. It's not even that big. I really just, yeah, it was a joke. It was a joke. Of course I don't like your feet. They're disgusting, right? But this is a problem because you don't realize how important it is for men to feel like they can bare their soul to you. And I'm not just talking about their dirty talk or their dirty thoughts, right? I'm also referring to the ability to really feel like they can tell you how they really feel about things. One of the major mistakes you can make as a woman is not realizing how your response when he's trying to bare his soul to you will affect his desire to continue sharing with you. And you don't realize how delicate, I know I make men sound like children sometimes, but you don't realize how delicate men's emotions can be. And if you give them the wrong response where you're like this, that's gross, right? And your response is this, you don't realize it, but just in an instant, your man can be like a hermit crab where he goes and he sees if it's safe out from underneath the rock. And when he checks and he sees just a little bit of movement, even the slightest flinch, he goes back underneath the rock and he buries himself away and he's never to be seen again. And you don't realize how quickly something like this, where a man is trying to bare his soul to you and be honest with you about things that he feels, his thoughts, his KINKs, right? Whatever the case may be. And you don't realize how if you have the wrong response, he will quickly turn to a place where he no longer wants to share with you. He completely shuts down. And that's how you end up, because some of you, I know you wonder, how do women end up with men who their husband is going to the strip club and paying strippers to have conversation with them? You see it in the movies and maybe you hear it, you know, in people talking about it, and you think to yourself, that could never be me. How does a woman be with a man that she's married to, and her man's at the strip club every single night, paying strippers to have conversation with them. That could never be me. But you don't realize it can easily end up being you if you approach your man with judgment and you shame him for trying to bare his soul to you. Because when men shut down, they will shut down and they won't even tell you that they've shut down on you. You'll just never hear anything real from them ever again. So part of understanding men's needs is understanding their desire to bare their soul to you and share with you their deeper desires, what they really want, their fears, their aspirations. And you've got to make sure, even if you hear something that is off-putting to you, that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you feel like, oh, that's a little bit icky, you got to make sure that you're delicate in your response. That includes your body language, that includes your face language, that includes your words, because you never want to make a man feel like he can't be honest and real with you about what is on his heart and what is on his mind. That is a train to, a breakup, okay, or a divorce. Very, very quickly, the moment that begins to become the narrative and that starts to spiral out of control, okay? I know some things that a guy might tell you, you might actually be like, oh, what? That's actually kind of gross, right? He might tell you, I like to pee on people, or I like to get peed on, whatever. And you might be like, oh, that's actually disgusting. I'm not into that at all. But what I need for you to do, I need you to never forget, if this is going to be your man and you like him and you like the way that this relationship is going, you have to at least make him feel comfortable talking to you about his real feelings. The moment you make him feel uncomfortable talking about his feelings or bearing his soul, he will shut down not just about that, but he will shut down about everything else in the relationship. And you won't hear from him anymore when it comes to being honest and real with you. He'll just tell you exactly what you want to hear. And then lo and behold, 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, you'll find out by looking at his bank statement that he's been spending all of his extra income at the strip club. And only then will you say to yourself and say to your friends, I wish he would have talked to me. Why is he going to the strip club to talk to strippers? Okay? Right? So I just want you to understand the importance of that and the importance of making and allowing men to feel safe around you and safe enough to be real with you. Okay? We're all weird and strange in our own way, but it's so important that if you really want to be with this guy, that you make him feel seen and heard no matter what it is that he's into, even if it's feet and you think feet are gross, okay? You don't got to be into it. You just got to let him know that you accept him for being himself, okay? Let's hop into our point number 4, okay? Now, you know how we talked about the power of suggestion and how we talked about how important it is to allow men to feel like, wow, you have a really bad haircut in this one. Allow men to feel like they're making the decision. What type of car is this? Chat, tell me what type of car this is. It's a weird car. Weird car you got here. And then we'll draw his car here. We'll draw. Maybe he has a G-Wagon. You're dating a rich man. Okay. There we go. So, let's say for the sake of example, right, for the point that I'm trying to make here, you have a car that you regularly drive to work, right? This is your car. And this is the man's car. Man car. Now, your car, for the sake of this example, has broken down, right? So you have a broken down your car is broken down, so you can't drive it to work. And let's say, for the sake of this example, you express to the guy that you're dating, yeah, I'm having this issue with my car. I had to go send it to the shop, so I'm not going to be able to drive it to work. I'm going to have to figure out this weekend what I'm going to do come time Monday, because I'm not going to have my car back from the shop yet in time for me to go to work that week. And he says, well, it's not that big a deal. We work in fairly the same area, so I have no problem with us carpooling, right? And both of us sharing my car, and I'll take you to work the days that you don't have your car, and I'll make sure you get to work on time because we wake up at essentially the same time, and you'll be all good until you get your car back, okay? This is an example of a man taking action for you. It's a little bit similar to what I talked about with control and suggestion, but in this case, right, it's about solving one of your problems. When we talked about suggestion earlier, I gave you the example of the red roses, not as something that you necessarily need in your life, like your life's not gonna work unless you have red roses, but it's something that you would like, and you're using suggestion to receive that. Now, in this scenario, this is something where he actually can solve one of your problems by taking action for you. Now, let me let you on a little bit of a secret when it comes to men, and it's related to suggestion. They actually enjoy taking action for you. But you have to allow men the space to actually do that. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Men enjoy taking action and doing things for you, but you have to give them the space to actually take action, right? Part of control and relinquishing control is understanding how to give suggestion, and then after you give suggestion, you take a step back. Because men actually are very, very good at expressing their love for you through action, right? They know how to do things small and large for you to show you that they love you. In fact, they're so good at this, this is their specialty when it comes to expressing love. Your specialty is to be able to take your feelings and emotions, right, and organize them and categorize them and then deliver them with words and communicate them in a way that's digestible and understandable, right? That's your specialty as a woman. Men don't share that same specialty. Okay, it's okay, we're all different. They understand how to express their love for you or disdain for you by their action or lack of action. So when you allow men the space to take action for you, it's always going to benefit you. Because once again, he will feel like he's in control, and he'll feel like he's capable of making decisions and good decisions, and he'll also build that muscle memory in understanding what your needs are and how to attack your problems to make you a happy wife, okay? Because it's not just enough to understand, okay, my wife is unhappy with A, B, or C. It's also being able to use his own critical thinking skills to understand, all right, because she's unhappy with A, B, or C, I'm going to solve her problem and make sure she's okay again, make sure she's happy again by taking action A, B, or C. So even though you might desire, the same way we talked about suggestion with the red roses, and you might desire to tell him to just get you red roses, you might also have the desire to tell a man exactly how to solve your problem and take action for you. But I know it's going to sound really bad, I want you to refrain from doing that. I know it sucks. I know it might take some time. I know some of the men that you might date might not be able to connect the dots right away. But I want you to refrain from trying to force men or tell them exactly what action to take. I want you to allow them the space to take the action that they see fit for the situation. And see, this is why suggestion, it's like a dance. As you get better with your suggestion and as he grows in his muscle memory and understanding of how to solve your problems for specifically you, he will also grow in his ability to take action for you in a way that actually serves you, okay? It's a learning process. Sometimes some guys are quicker learners than others, but I promise you, as long as he has the desire to do this for you, he will get better at this over time. Because when you think about it, as he's learning you and understanding you better over the course of time, he better understands how to serve you as his man. Consequently, he also understands how to take action for you specifically and your happiness better over the course of time, right? So what I want you to do in your relationships is give men space to take action for you. Does that make sense? Okay. Henya says, how do I live with this guilt? The guilt of what? Not allowing him to take action? All right. It's not something that you have to feel guilty about. It's just something that now that you know this or better understand this, you make the adjustment, because I promise you, men will be happier being able to do things for you and for your happiness and feel the good feeling, because there's a feeling. People want to pretend like they just give to give, but there's also a feeling that you get when you give to someone. And there's a feeling that you get when you give to someone so good that they're really happy with what you did for them. And for men, it's the same way. We get a dopamine hit from taking action for you, knowing that that action makes you happy. And even the smallest little bit of appreciation makes us feel so good about taking that action that we want to continue doing it. Okay, I know it sounds very silly, but we kind of like dogs in that way. All right, let's hop into number 4. Okay. Now, I think that for some of you on the younger side, this might not make a lot of sense to you because this is a very emotional point. But what I want to crystallize for you, even if you don't get it right now, I promise you at some point, it will make sense to you, okay? So there's a thing that happens when it comes to inspiration. See, you as a woman, you are, let's just say, put you here. I didn't give you no nose or no mouth right here. And see, when we have you in a stage of growth and improvement, right? You're growing, right? And you're doing things for yourself. Your man is also here. And he is observing what is going on with you. He is observing what you're doing with your life, how you're living with your life, and the type of person that you are. So when he sees you growing, when he sees your life improve, when he sees you working on you, as he's observing this, he's actually becoming, as weird as this will sound, inspired by you. Because something that is very difficult for me to put into words as a man. See, there's something really special about being with the right type of woman. Because the right type of woman for a man will actually make it so much more possible to reach heights that are really impossible unless you have someone who is motivating you. One of my favorite athletes is Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant has this documentary called The Muse, right? A muse is just, in its most basic terms, something that inspires you and motivates you to either create some sort of art or to do something, okay? So for example, if I say this woman is my muse, what I'm saying is when I see her and when I think of her, I am motivated to do more and be more. You are women, so it might not make sense to you how intense this feeling can be inside men. But I assure you, when you're the right woman for a man, this feeling inside him will be very intense. He will be so inspired by you and just your existence and observing the way that you live your life and the person that you are, that he will want to be a better version of himself because of how inspired by you he is. So it's very important that even while you date a man, you continue to look for ways in which you can grow and develop yourself. And you continue to look for ways in which you can improve your life and continue investing in yourself. This is something that is true both when men start dating you and even when they're in a relationship with you. You want to make sure that you never, ever stop investing in yourself. Because as you invest in yourself and you grow as a woman, you continue to inspire that man to show up as an even better version of himself. Okay? Because you become his muse and his motivation to work harder. See, Men are good at working hard, and some of them have discipline even on their own. But with the right woman, they have even more discipline because they're even more motivated by things outside of themselves. They feel like they're serving a purpose and they're working hard, not just for themselves, but they're working hard for you as well. And it can't be understated how important this is for men to feel. Because when they go out into the hunt, when men go out into war, we don't go out into war anymore, we just on TikTok, all right? But when men used to go out to war, there's a reason they had a picture of their wife and children in their back pocket. Because when they're in the battlefield and things look hopeless and they're on their last breath, their partner's over here, he lost a leg, and they're in enemy territory way deep, and it looks like there's no more hope. He looks at his picture of his wife and his children, and he kisses it. I love you so much. Because that is the state, that is the thing that takes him to a different place. That's why I say it's kind of like a really spiritual thing. It takes him to a different place emotionally that can get him to muster up that last bit of energy, that last bit of courage to say, I'm going to go out and do this not for me, but for the people that I love. Okay? I know you're all women, so you're like, damn, is it really that? Is it really like that? Like, does it really feel like it does when you're with the right woman? So what I want you to do in order for you to actually be able to help a guy be inspired like this is you have to make sure you never stop looking for ways to grow and improve yourself as a woman. Okay? And you never get complacent in thinking that, oh, well, I'm already in this relationship with him, so I just should spend all my time with him, doing things with him, and not care or invest in myself. Because then you lose that luster that men find inspiring in being with the right woman. He wants to see you do better. He wants to see you grow. He wants to see you invest in yourself. And that inspires him to do more for you and to be more for you. I don't know if you've ever, maybe some of you have heard a guy say this to you at some point, because I'm sure some of you watch the show that are in relationships. Tell me in the chat if you've ever heard a guy say to you, I love the version of myself when I'm with you, right? I love or a version of this, like, I love who I am when I'm around you, okay? You can tell me in the chat if you've ever heard that, right? Because that's a version of this. When you're inspired as a man by your woman, you start to change your habits. You start to try and improve yourself and improve your life. Subsequently, when you spend more time with that woman and you really are making changes in your life, you start to look in the mirror and you're more proud of who you're becoming. And you understand that I'm becoming someone different and improving my life because of how inspired I'm getting by this woman, okay? I see some of you saying no and some of you saying yes. It's not something that all of you will have experienced. But trust me, when you're in a very good relationship and when you have your man in a good mental state, when you have him in this state, he will say things like that, okay? Which is a good thing. I want him to say things like that because that means he's actually, it's going to sound weird, but he's actually falling in love with himself when he's around you, because you're bringing something extra out of him that he's not able to possess when you're not around or before you were there, right? And this is something very intrinsic, very spiritual, that it just happens because men and women were meant to be together, okay? We were not meant to be apart and we were not meant to be individuals, you know what I mean? We do something for and to each other that in some ways just can't really be explained in words. I try to, but you get my point. Right? Does that make sense to all of you so far and all of these 5 points? You guys have any questions about those 5 right there? Okay. You guys can ask any of your questions and I will make sure to get them answered here on this show. Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah, we all good. All right. By the way, for those of you who have a question for me, even if I don't get to answer it on this show, or maybe it's a little bit unrelated to this show, you can always go to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube, and you can ask me a private question through our private hotline. You can just send it to me through message, right? You can type it out, send in your private message to me, and then I respond with a voice message back to you, usually 8 to 10 minutes long, okay? That link is in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Click where it says private relationship advice, and you can submit your question that way as well if you need it to be in more detail. JA says in the TikTok chat, should it be the other way around? Should your man inspire you too? Well, yes, of course. Your man should inspire you too, because when you see him and you see the things that he's doing, you should feel like, damn, I also want to show up as a better version of me. Then you guys are kind of like stacking on top of each other. He's inspiring you to be a better version. You're inspiring him to be a better version. And as you guys grow together, that's the way that you continue evolving in your relationship. We might have to have a whole show on this, but I know some of you always think to yourself, well, damn, I feel like I like toxic relationships a lot because they're more interesting. And when I'm with a guy and it's super healthy and it's super just good and there's no issues, I find that a little bit boring. What you're missing is that when you get into a good stage in your relationship, you forget that the goals change. When you're in a healthy relationship, your goal is no longer just not being toxic. Your goal has to adjust to growth. Because when you guys are both focused on growth, both together and as individuals, it will take up so much of your time and energy that you'll still find the relationship interesting and it won't be boring to you anymore. What makes it boring is that you stop growing. Then when you don't have growth going on in your life or in the relationship, and you're just stagnant, you start to feel like, oh, I need something to make this interesting, which I don't want for any of you, okay? Tracy Niles donates $20 in the YouTube chat. Thank you so much, Tracy Niles, for your donation, okay? LP Baby said earlier, she said, you're the best, Tommy. Thanks for being a patient king. God is really using you as a vessel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that comment. Blue says, Tomisin, for the second point of your suggestion, if we get an excuse from a man that he is not romantic like that, regarding flowers, what does that mean? My advice to you, Blues, if a man ever tells you, hey, I'm so unromantic that getting flowers for you is painful and just not my style, go ahead and find you a different man. Go ahead and find you a different man. Okay? I'm not saying that everyone has to, capitulate or do exactly what you need or be perfect. But here's the thing. When a man cares about you and likes you, he cares about your happiness. And when all you're asking for is something simple or small, and he finds it so painful to do the something simple and small for you, you have to understand at that point you're facing a situation that is unsustainable. Because it would be different if you said, oh, my expectations of him is to buy me a $30,000 Birkin bag, right? Obviously, if he can't afford a $30,000 Birkin bag, no matter how much he wants to make you happy, it's just not possible for him, okay? But if you're saying, oh, you really enjoy would be flowers, and he's like, oh, well, that's too much of a pain and a hassle for me. Well, how are you guys even supposed to move along in this relationship? Because if the $20 flowers are too much of an issue, what are you supposed to do when the investment gets more or the intensity in the relationship gets more? He's what, like, are we going to be saying he can't even be bothered to go to the dollar store to get you something? He can't even be bothered to think about you in any capacity, even in something small, right? That doesn't even cost money. It's just at a certain point, you have to understand what a guy's really communicating to you is that I'm not invested in your happiness, which subsequently means I don't really have the feelings that you think I have for you. Because trust me, when a guy really cares and he really has feelings for you, doing something small for you is not an issue. It's only pulling teeth for men who don't really like you. And I'm telling you this as a man. If I don't really like a woman, it'll be like pulling teeth to do anything for her. If I really like a woman, it will not be like pulling teeth to do some things for her. She most of the time won't even have to ask for those things because I'll already be thinking about how to do those things, right? And that goes for any man. Don't let men fool you or convince you that it happens any other way. Okay. Kayla says, is there a time where it's too soon for a man to be solving problems? See, I don't necessarily think there's a too soon, but I do think that there are limits in terms of what is appropriate in terms of quantity. So what do I mean by that? A guy saying, okay, I'm going to go drive you all the way to the airport 4 hours and drive you back, and I've never met you before. That's a little bit, solving your problem in a way where, yes, he's inconveniencing himself, but he hasn't even met you, and your relationship isn't even at the point where that level of sacrifice is appropriate for how much time you guys and investment you guys have in each other. Vice versa, if you're dating a man for 4 years, let's say, and you're like in Blues' situation where the guy is complaining about even getting you flowers, well, relatively, in terms of solving problem, or let me not even say if it's a problem, right? He's having a problem, he has a car, and he has a problem driving you to work when it's only like a 10-minute inconvenience, and you've been dating this guy for 4 years. Well, now we're talking about something that doesn't really make sense relative to how much investment there should be in the relationship at that point, right? So, to answer your question simply, it's not about too soon, it's about too much, okay? Depending on where your relationship is on at that point, I should say, okay? Does that make sense? Uh, Class says he grew the flowers for you. I love men that indulge in plants, flowers, keeper. Yeah, see, chat, what you have to understand is that even if men aren't necessarily like they're not thinking about flowers. When they get to a point where they care about your happiness, they subsequently care about anything you care about. It's just, men can be complicated in other ways, but in this way, they're very simple. They care about your happiness when they care about you. They don't care about your happiness when they don't care about you. It's almost so simple in that sense. So whenever you're questioning how he feels about you, ask yourself, how much does he really care about my happiness? If I make a suggestion about something I need, or I present to him a problem that I'm having, is he going to go back to playing video games and act like I never said anything? If that's the case, then you know how he really feels about you, and it's 100%. Okay, you don't have to question yourself after you get the answer to that question, right? Uh, Someone says, if you're open about your personal growth process, can that scare a man away? No, I don't think your personal growth process is not going to scare a man away. Now, what I'll warn you though of your personal growth process is telling men in your personal growth process that part of your growth process is no longer getting treated like trash by other men. And in the past, all you've been doing is being in relationships that treat you like trash. Okay? That is the type of personal growth I just want you to kind of steer away from communicating with men. Just simply because whenever you start over communicating with the guy how other guys have treated you like trash, you're sending the wrong message, because now you're sending the message that you're the first guy to actually not treat me like trash. Then he's going to start feeling like, why am I the first guy to not treat you like trash? That's kind of strange. That must mean your value is low. That's what he's going to start thinking. Okay, I don't want him to think that, but that's what he's going to start thinking, right? Ivy says, what if the guy wants gifts? Should I buy him a PS5? In what sense? Like if a guy you're dating for a long time wants a PS5, then sure. But if a guy you're not dating and is not your boyfriend that hasn't done anything for you wants a PS5, it is not appropriate. Okay. LB Baby says, why the switch up from men then? If he cared so much at first, then he stopped caring. Sounds like men will use women. My ex cared and solved problems until he didn't and stopped. So subsequently, in line with his feelings probably stopped right when he stopped doing things for you and solving your problems. You'll notice that correlation, and it'll become very obvious to you when you think of it that way. If you're thinking about where his feelings were at those different times, and obviously he's your ex for a reason, but if you're thinking about where his feelings towards you were at those different times, I guarantee you can probably correlate it exactly to the moment he stopped having a lot of feelings for you, or his feelings changed with the same time frame that he stopped doing things for you, or trying to solve your problems. Because it's very difficult for a man to care about your happiness and go above and beyond for your happiness when he genuinely has stopped caring about your happiness. Chanel says, dated a guy that put me first until his mother came around. What's your take on that dynamic? If a guy wants to satisfy and appease his mother more than he wants to appease you, then let him go and be in a relationship with his mother. I'm not saying that men should pick you over their mother, especially when you guys aren't at that point in your relationship, but there's an understanding that his mother is his mother, and he is his own man, and you are supposed to be his girlfriend that maybe eventually be his wife. And so if we're talking about hierarchy, the wife is supposed to take precedent, or sorry, I should say priority over his mother, right? What you want and your needs and your happiness is supposed to take priority over his mother. Now, I'm not saying that you're his wife the moment that you date him, but there should be an understanding of boundaries, okay? Just because someone is his mom, right? Just because that's his mom, that doesn't mean that there are no boundaries. She can say whatever she wants, do whatever she wants, and that all he should be thinking about is her and her happiness. If that's the case, then that guy is not emotionally ready to even be in a relationship, because that's not how you won't have a successful relationship if your wife feels like she's second to your mother, right? Your mother's not living at your house. Your mother isn't going to bear your children. Your mother shouldn't be your priority in terms of service, right? As a man. Unfortunately, this is just the honest truth. And if a guy is thinking about his relationships like that, he's just not ready to be in a relationship, a proper one, okay? Kayla says, let the mama's boy go date her then. Exactly. You let those mama's boy date their mama. LP Baby says, I told an ex once to be with his mom instead. It didn't end well. I broke up with him. Well, yeah, he's an ex for a reason. All right, chat. Let's hop into our next segment of the day, which is going to be our React segment. Our React segment is where all of you beautiful people send me TikTok videos from around the universe, and we have conversation with them. They're usually about love, life, and relationships. While we prepare for that, make sure you spam up your headphone emojis, spam up your camcorder emojis, because we're gonna film this in 4K like Diddy, okay? Get your baby oil out. And while we get ready for our React segment, I'm gonna clean up the board and bring in my chair. We're gonna watch an intermission video that comes from Margarita today while I clean up and get prepared for our React segment, and I will join you all back, I should say, in just a moment. Please, Margarita, take it away
the most when we are with them and we are bonding, and they bond to us more through vasopressin, and that is when they're a little bit stressed and they miss us. Sod's law. I hate it, but it's true. They bond to us when they miss us and when there is gaps. They want to constantly be like, who wrote to you? And not even in a jealous way, like who wrote to you, but like, oh my God, what did they say? What did they do? What are we doing together? What are we doing together is just a real one. And the more you do that, the more of a mistake you are making in terms of wanting to fill his entire world with you. You are not creating mystery. You are not creating any kind of feminine mystique. You are crushing it all in the trash can. It could be magical. Your relationship could be magical, but your want to fill his entire world with you. You're on a screensaver. You are everywhere. You know those t-shirts that went viral on TikTok where you put your face on them? I actually did that when I was in my 20s because I thought it was a cute present. I would never do that now. Oh my God. You know when men go on about how much they love girls in their 20s and like that's the vibe and like girls in their 20s? How could you possibly? Because that's why when women are in their 20s, they get their hearts broken because they might be cute and young, but I would never print myself on a t-shirt and give it to a man now. Oh my God. The secondhand shame I feel for my younger self. What are you doing? No, that's a violation. Number 3, constant unhappiness. You know, the constant unhappy wife, you know, the constant eye rolling, the constant, you know, like, oh man, we never just do what I want to do. We never have the good things in life. You never take me out. You never do this for me. You never want to do that with me. Unhappy, unhappy, unhappy. Like she cannot create her own happiness and she is not a source of her own happiness. She's just unhappy and resigned to the fact that he's got to create that happiness for her. He has no sense of the fact that you as a woman can even smile. Like he has no sense of the fact that, and you get in a trap with that, babe. Like you get in a trap with that. I see you 100% how you feel that it is. Like he becomes this well of like a complaint, you know, ticket box or whatever it is that you write your complaints into. And you hope that the, you know, administration changes what's going on. But you forget that, yes, you're cute and sexy and he wants to be with you. But if it carries on that way, that you are just constantly complaining and berating and blah, 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 it's not going to be cute and fun to be with. And life cannot be about constant complaints and unhappiness and just annoyance at him, because he will lose the motivation to want to do things for you. You need to have a cleverer way of telling him what you want as opposed to constant unhappiness. How about this? Complimenting him on what he already does. That's a powerful one. We don't use that one enough. Oh, but how am I going to compliment him? He does nothing for me. Why are you with him then, Sarah? Why are you with him? 4, making him do your hobbies and live your life with you. So, you know how Home Depot in America or whatever, girls make guys go to their appointments with them. Girls make guys go to Home Depot to do their styling, to do this, that, the other. And then they wonder why that spice is lost in their relationship of like him being in the masculine, you being in the feminine, when all we do is bake pies together and go to Home Depot. Look, I'm not saying that's your hobbies. You might be like a horsey girl. You might be a home reno girl. But forcing a guy to do your hobbies and share your likes. And even I saw once, I can't remember, it was on a spiritual guru's video. Someone wrote, oh, you should make a community for like-minded, spiritually aware people to get together. I think the biggest misconception.
Thank you, Miss Margarita, for that great message about feminine energy. You guys can always check her out. She's on YouTube. Her name is Margarita Nazarenko. I don't know how to spell that, but you'll figure it out if you really want to find it. Let's hop into our first video here in our React segment. Let me make sure this is working properly.
Okay, this is my most powerful.
Oh, you just playing it right away. Okay. Okay, let's find our first video here. Let me make sure we're on the right thing. Okay, TikTok. Make sure we in the right place. Do we do this? Do we do that? One thing. I would say as an avoidant person, I would say the best thing to do ever in dealing with an avoidant person is to give an avoidant person exactly what they ask for. So anytime they ask for space or they communicate to you that they need space or they shut down on you, give them more space than they ever asked for. And I know it's going to sound like I'm giving you toxic advice, but you have to train avoidant people that their avoidance doesn't bother you or trigger you because they're used to their avoidance bothering and triggering people. And they're used to the response to their avoidance for people to push closer to them. And what do you think an avoidant does when people push closer to them? They become more avoidant. So the best thing for you to do when you acknowledge an avoidant needs space or is asking for space or showing the signs that they need space is to give them exactly that to the point where they come to you and ask you why there has been so much space, right? Or just, get to the point where they decide they no longer need space. And then you welcome them back with open arms. Not all the time, but sometimes. Okay.
Okay, this is one of my most powerful hacks. This is how to get anyone to come up to you in a bar or in a social setting. This is called sticky eyes. I invented this in college. It is so powerful that usually while I'm demonstrating to someone how to do it, I end up just doing it and I'm not even giving it my all. I'm going to tell you how the hack works and then I'm going to tell you why it works, okay? It's a simple formula. You pick your target, you stare at them until they look back at you. Once you make eye contact, you look away like you've been caught, okay? Now here is the next very important part. The next time that you look at them and they meet your eyes again, don't look away. Let them break first because they're gonna check to see if were you really looking at me? And the second look will confirm that you were. And this time you're gonna have to hold it uncomfortably long. They have to look away first for this to work. Once they look away, you never look at them again. And in about 45 seconds, they will be right in front of you as if they have been summoned psychically by you. They'll be like, hello, I'm here. You guys, I swear to God this works. One time I was demonstrating this to my friend. We were at this bar in LA, sending love to LA. And this guy walked in, he kind of looked like, I don't know, a knockoff Aquaman type guy. And all the girls were flocking to him. And the bar was this huge horseshoe. We're on one side, he's on the other side. And there's all these girls are kind of like talking to him. They're like, he walks in, they're all like, ooh, blah, blah. And me and my friend who knows sticky eyes well, we're teaching a third girl how to do sticky eyes. And she goes, okay, if it works on anyone, do it to that guy. So my friend is like, all right, challenge accepted. So she sticky eyes him. When I tell you, he literally, like he's parting the Red Sea. He walks all the way around the horseshoe. He comes over, he's like, hello? And I'm not kidding. The third friend, the one we were teaching, goes just out loud, oh, shut the fuck up. Like, and he was like, what? It's that powerful, okay? I was demonstrating it once and this guy walked up to me who I was demonstrating it on to a friend and he was like, I don't really know why I'm here. And I was like, I know. I do. Sorry. I summoned you by accident. Like, you can go. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, it's that powerful. Here's why it works. It is such a risk to approach someone in the wild, someone that you don't know, because you either need like a really good icebreaker or you need balls of fucking steel. Like, most people, even if you think, oh, I want to meet someone tonight, like, your energy is probably pretty closed off. You are probably in a group of people, which that's so intimidating for someone to come up to you. And by doing sticky eyes, you are basically providing a giant cushion for this person's ego. They're like, oh, you were looking at me. You were looking at me twice. And I caught you. And the second time, you didn't even look away. Like, you want something from me. Like, do you think I look like someone? Or do you just think I'm like super attractive? It makes it like risk-free to come up and approach you. But that's why sometimes they come up and they're kind of confused. They're like, hello? But it works in...
Okay. While she was saying that, I was thinking to myself, does this work on me? And then I realized probably only a handful of girls have actually been able to do this properly, that I also found attractive, obviously. And yes, it bats 100%. Assuming that, you know, he's also attracted to you, you're an attractive woman. Yeah, bats pretty much because of exactly what she stated. The psychology of the idea, like I would always end up having a conversation with them in one way or another, right? Because the idea is if you're out and about, as you're scanning the room as a guy, right, you're obviously not going out for poops and giggles. You're going out because you want to see the vibe. So when you see an attractive woman and she clearly is making it obvious that she is interested in you or she's open to you coming up to her or having a conversation with her, it's an easy confirmation as a guy, assuming you're not such a soy boy that you can't do anything, right? But assuming you have some sort of courage and confidence as a guy, it's confirmation that, oh, if I come up to you and have a conversation with you, then, you know, I don't have to worry about rejection because clearly you're showing interest in me. You're clearing the runway for me. So at that point, all that's left for me to do is to do the work of going up to you and approaching you. And I know we'll have some connection or some conversation from there because clearly there's initial attraction on both of our sides. So it's exactly what she's describing, right? And she described the emotions perfectly for a guy. It's like an emotional blanket that allows them to be sure that, yes, I find you attractive, but you're also making it clear you find me attractive, and you're also open to the idea of us having a conversation, okay? Some of you might do this on accident and not realize why a lot of guys come up to you. And some of you might never do this at all when you go out to a club, to a bar, to a whatever. And then it also will be obvious why guys never approach you because they're not actually sure if you're interested in them. You know, I'm telling you this. One thing that I noticed when I became sober for good 2 years ago, and I started going out to clubs, to bars, to parties, to events, gatherings, sober, pure sober. That was when I became in touch with how powerful eye contact really is. And I realized it actually meeting people when you go out and talking to people you find attractive and interesting is really that simple. And it's not that hard when you understand how eye contact works and how to play eye contact games, because it's so easy to tell when you understand how it works, who is interested in you and who is not. Okay, so I'll answer this. It does work. What she said definitely works.
Life is so funny because, like, one day you're living in a $10,000 a month apartment and, like, getting to do whatever you want and eating at Michelin star restaurants all the time and going on a vacation to the Amman Hotel in Sri Lanka and then extending the trip and going to Singapore and staying at the Ritz-Carlton. And you're with this man who you think you're going to marry, and he's made you financially dependent on him over the course of the relationship. And then you get into a fight one night. It's January, so when I get back to New York, I will have technically nowhere permanent to live.
All right, listen, I got a lot to say about this because I've made countless videos talking about how I personally think these girls who make these provider videos, they live in fantasy world because this is the harsh reality of you getting a provider, man. If I played the video a little bit too fast, this girl was dating an extremely rich guy, and she forgot, I guess, halfway through the relationship that she thought this is her new life because she thought she was going to marry this guy. But it didn't occur to her that that money, that experience, everything you're getting to enjoy is just because of him. It's not because of you. You have no way of making money. These experiences were all through this guy. One line that I really dislike that she says in the beginning of the video is her saying, well, this man made me financially dependent on him. Man, nobody can make you financially dependent. You chose to not go and entertain your own career and make progress in your own career because you thought this man was going to be your Superman. You thought that this man was going to be there, you were going to marry him, and you never have to work again and get all of your resources, money, and everything through him. That's what you thought. Nobody forces you to just not go and, make progress in your own career. And this is my whole entire point. Like, listen, I don't know if this girl was told by the boyfriend to not work or whatever the deal is, but the point is she didn't work for probably years. She doesn't have a way of making a stable income. Her name wasn't on the lease, and now she's shocked and baffled because she was in the honeymoon stage. Now, when they had a simple argument or a big argument, that all of that stuff is it's gone. Because this is why I make the provider videos that I do, because these girls live in a completely delusional and fantasy world where I don't know if they've never had an experience where you think you know somebody really well and it just goes a different direction. But why would you ever want to put yourself in a situation where you are reliant, completely reliant, whether it's on your living situation, financially, like pretty much everything you're relying on a man for, just praying that this relationship doesn't go south, even though divorces are at like 75% right now. Because the common argument whenever I make these videos warning girls about being in that provider lifestyle is like, oh, you just couldn't provide for a girl. You just couldn't do it. It's like, I've never made a girl do that. But trust me, I think it's embarrassing if I ever met a girl in real life and she said, no, it's your job. It's your job to provide for me. I'd be like, oh, yeah, you're not ambitious. I'm not dating a child. Because while I do have a little bit of empathy for this girl, like I'm sure she's probably so sad that this relationship is over, the one thing I don't think this girl ever thought of is that all of those experiences that she's naming as if it was hers was never hers. Those were experiences that you got to obtain because of that man. It was never yours. It's like if I was dating a girl whose dad owned Yankee Stadium and I got a bunch of Yankees tickets, and then all of a sudden me and the girl break up, and then I'm like, what? I can't go to Yankees games anymore? I had the Yankees tickets because I was dating a girl whose dad owns the Yankees. I didn't actually do that, but you know my point.
So, actually, what the theme of what he's saying here, I actually think is a good point, because I think that easily, see, when your focus is on one thing in one extreme, you can become so hyper fixated on that thing that you allow that thing to control you. Meaning, if you're fixated on being someone who finds a man with money, that all you can think about, care about, or want is a man who has money that can pay for your Chanel bag and buy you fancy gifts. When you finally meet a man with money and he takes you on your first date to Nobu, and you start feeling like you're going to live the amazing rich life of a rich wife, what you don't realize is, number one, you're not his wife. And theoretically, he can break up with you with a simple text message, right, and end the relationship. Number two, you can also easily fall into the trap that most women actually fall into when they meet a man with a lot of money, is they start thinking to themselves, well, okay, I need to do a lot of things to keep this man with money interested in me. So the quicker I can give myself to him, the quicker I can let him jackrabbit himself inside of me, the quicker he'll be interested in me and everything that I have to offer. And it's the exact same mistake that all the other women are making. They're making literally the exact same mistake because they're going through the same thought process as you. How do I get him to want me as quickly as possible and to stay with me as quickly as possible? Let me give myself to him as quickly as possible so he'll want to stay. He also understands that because it's a learned behavior over a while, right? As he has been rich for a while, he understands this pattern. So he understands, instead of love bombing, I'll just money bomb at the beginning. Take her to fancy stuff at the beginning, show her fancy things at the beginning, spend good money on her at the beginning, let her see the lifestyle at the beginning. That will also quicken her up to be able to feel like she needs to then also invest in me and give me a lot of things very early. Once I receive what I'm looking for, I'll take all of my investment, all of my money back, and then I'll go meet the new girl, and the cycle will begin again. Which is exactly why I say don't become so mesmerized by money that you allow it to control you. And I do want you to date a guy who's rich and successful and can protect and provide for you. But I also don't want you to be manipulated by that, because make no mistake about it, the men who are rich can also manipulate women. Okay. Especially, and I don't know how to say this in a nice way. Especially for those of you, when you find yourself going on a date with a man who is on the older, more mature side, but he's still attractive, like physically attractive, and he's got lots of money. Because I've helped women like this that are dating millionaires or really, really rich men that are still attractive men, and they're just a little bit older, not even that much older. those men you should be very, very wary of. I'm not saying that that life is not for you and you can't end up being with a rich provider man. But whenever you encounter a man who has life experience, who is very rich and well off, and also is a physically attractive man, understand that all the other women are looking at him and meeting him and thinking, I need to be this man's wife because he has everything that I'm looking for. So understand that the natural thought process that you'll go to in wanting to give him everything he wants as this rich, successful, attractive man is the exact same thought process all the other women before you have also had. And if he's still a single man, think about what that must mean to how well that strategy works if all the other women are going about situations the same way. It's the exact reason that when I talk to you guys about dating a guy with money, dating a guy with status, right? The last thing you ever should mention or talk about is money. If you're dating a man with status or money that can actually provide, real good for you, all you should be focusing on is your emotional connection. You pretend like you don't even see the money. You don't even know what money is. It doesn't even compute in your mind the meaning of money. All you care about and all you discuss with him is your emotional connection, his emotions, his feelings, his thoughts. That's all you discuss with him. Because I promise you, when you get to that part of his heart and his spirit, that's when he'll show you the money. And if you even utter the word money, when you're around a man with money, he'll immediately say, oh, I know what she's looking for. And he won't take you seriously at all. That's my little tidbit to those of you who are thinking about how to get men with money. It's not by talking about money at all. In fact, you should run away from the topic of money if you're with a guy who has money.
Can you marry a woman that earns more than you?
I will never do such a thing.
So you cannot marry. Can you marry a woman that earns more than you?
What? Why was he okay?
I will never do such a thing.
I don't know if he didn't understand the question or if he's just saying I'd never do such a thing because I'm married myself.
So you cannot marry a woman that earns more than you?
No, my lord.
Why?
I've already married.
Okay. So and you are richer than your wife?
I will never be rich except God who created us.
Okay.
How inspirational. So inspirational.
Hey, Tommy. Oh, what's
Talk to me.
that? Oh, you got to cancel plans? Oh, man, I was really looking forward to tonight. Yeah. Well, that's okay. Well, okay. You can plan next week, but you're going to have to make it up to me then. How? I'll let you think about how. I don't have to tell you. You know what to do. Yeah, it's not a big deal. No worries. I know you'll put in the effort next time. I know you will. I have a lot of confidence in you. Yeah, I trust you. Yeah, I know you did. I know you've done this before. But it's okay. I got plans. I'll create plans. It's okay. Yeah, I'll think about you once or twice, but don't worry about it. We're gonna keep it moving. Okay. All right. Well, once you do know, you can feel free to let me know or don't, or just give me a little surprise. Yeah, that's right. I like surprises. You know that, though, Tommy. All right. Well, enjoy tonight, whatever you got planned. But let me remind you, you better make it up to me. Have a good night.
I like everything that he said here until the end
that,
part.
though, Tommy.
Don't throw the shade.
All right. Well, enjoy tonight, whatever you got planned.
Don't say that. That's shade.
But let me remind you, you better make it up to me.
So this is what he's actually referring to is something that we talked about today in the power of suggestion and the power of allowing a man to feel like a man and make his own decisions on how he's going to take action in a situation. This is kind of like playful flirting and understanding how to see, one of the toughest things to do is understanding how to take and deal with disappointment. Because especially when you start growing a relationship with a guy and you're enjoying spending time with this guy, it can be quite disappointing for him to cancel plans, for him to flop on you, for things to not work out exactly as you want it. What you have to get good at, and this is a skill that just must be developed overall in your growth, and I think is important to just have as an adult, is understanding how to pivot from when things aren't working out exactly as you want, being able to pivot in a smooth way that people can't even realize that you're disappointed or anything wrong happened, which this is like a play. He's doing a play out of how to properly pivot basically whenever you are disappointed by a guy, because the natural response to that you're going to want to give whenever a guy is canceling plans on you or he can't make it is to basically make it seem like this is everything you were looking forward to your entire week. And you're so immensely devastated that he can't make this time with you or spend this time with you that you literally can't think anymore. And this is the worst time of your life. The problem with that, though, is you're actually painting a picture, which you don't want to be painting for men, which is that he is the center of your universe. And around him, he is the sun, which everything else revolves around in your life. That if he were to not show up for you or be able to hang out with you, then your entire world just falls apart. You don't want to give men that level of power, and you definitely don't want to be giving them that level of power when you first start dating them, where these things are more likely to happen, right? You want to be playful and suggestive and let him know my life goes on with or without you. Now, you can choose to be in it, and I would definitely love for you to be in it, and I would love for you to show up for me, but you're going to have to show me something if you want to be in my life. But make no mistake about it, if you're in it or you're not, I will still be okay with that. I'll still be a happy person. I'll still have lots of love in my life. I'll still have lots of things to do, right? You're almost, in a weird way, you're humbling that man while simultaneously saying, I still do like you, but you're going to have to show me something. So you're kind of doing multiple things at once. And I know for some of you that it's harder for you to balance this. This can feel like, damn, that's a lot of work to be able to know what to do or respond in that scenario. But I promise you, as you get better at this, you'll understand how to take this disappointment, pivot, and get the proper response that you want while also painting the right picture of yourself. Because I do think that this is a perfect response that I would advise you to give outside of the last part where you're throwing shade, because the last shade little part just makes it seem like, oh, you're going to go hang out with your other girlfriend. Don't do that. Don't do that. No. Anytime you have your subconscious wants to make that joke, oh, are you going to go hang out with your other girlfriend? You're going to go on a date with your other girlfriend? Who are you talking to now? Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not funny. It doesn't make you look cool. Doesn't make you look quirky. It just makes you look like you're devastated that you're very insecure, that he might want someone else. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do it. All right, chat, let's hop into our next segment of the show. Very, very special, very, very amazing time. If you're an OG Players Club member, you know exactly what time is coming up. So please spam it up in the chat. For those of you who are new here, you're going to see something very, very special, okay? It's a special time. It's an amazing time. It's a time where you're going to laugh and you're going to cry. Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. And don't look nowhere else in your entire home. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. All right, chat. Let's hop into our favorite part of the show. It's Discord time, and I'll explain to you how this works for those of you who are new here and have no idea what I'm talking about here. So Discord times where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their relationship or situationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, I'm going to explain to you the different ways in which you can submit your question, because there are 3 different ways you can do that. First way is by submitting your question to our free relationship advice forum. This is a first come, first serve forum, and is available by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Click where it says Players Club Discord, and then once you hop into our relationship advice forum, you can drop your question in here. Now, it is a first come, first serve forum, so all of these questions here that are highlighted are questions that I haven't yet answered, and I have to get to first before I can get to your question. So you can see the oldest one here is about like 25 days here. So it's probably going to take me over 2 weeks to probably closer to 3 to get to your question if you ask your question today in our free section. I know for some of you that makes you very, very mad because you're an impatient type of person. So we have another option for those of you who are too impatient that you don't want to wait for the queue line in order to get your question answered. This is our premium relationship advice forum. Now, this forum is for those of you who are looking to skip the line because you don't want to wait that long to get your question answered. The way you access this is by going to our my link in my bio on my TikTok, or if you go to my description, if you're watching on YouTube, click where it says Premium Discord Relationship Advice. It's going to prompt you to donate to the show and also prompt you to put in the title of your username and the title of what your question is going to be that you drop in here. That allows me to get a notification on my phone and see your donation along with seeing your name and the title of your question. That way, because I read these out first before I go to the free section, right? They're getting to skip the line. That way I can ensure that your question is meant to be in here, and we're keeping it fair for everyone else who's waiting in the free section, okay? So that's how we do that here. Now, the third way to send in your question is for those of you who don't want to have your information read out on the show. This is our private relationship hotline, I guess we can say, or link. Here, this link's available in our Discord. It's also available in my TikTok bio and in my description, where you can go there, you can access the link, and then you're able to send me in a question. You type it out and no one else sees it. It doesn't get read out on the show. It only gets read by me, and I respond with a voice message, usually 8 to 10 minutes long, to break down your situation, give you advice, or give you perspective if that's what you need, okay? So those are your 3 ways to submit a question. Let's get started with our premium section here. All right, our first question of the day comes from E. E says, how should I handle this? Okay. Hi, Tomisin. A guy approached me at work to ask a question, lingered around me, and eventually asked for my number, saying I was really pretty. I gave him my Instagram instead, and he joked that I seemed like I wouldn't text back, which I found funny because I don't understand what gives him that impression. Maybe he just thinks you too much of a baddie. Okay. He followed me and messaged me while I was still at work. Damn, he fiending. Okay. I waited until after my shift to add him and respond. Later that night, he texted again. Damn, he fiending. Damn, what you got behind you? You must have got some crazy behind you. You must got that thing on you. I don't know. He going crazy. He messaged you too. You didn't even finish your shift. But since it was late, I decided to reply in the morning. Damn. When I told him my availability after he asked, he just said, oh, okay, which made me assume that he wasn't interested, so I didn't reply further. A couple months later, I posted myself on my story, and he replied complimenting me, saying that I'm really pretty. You must got that thing on you. You posting up a story, and he's all right. I was born that night, just not last night. We chatted through text for a while. I tried not to get too attached, how you say, because he is a stranger, and I do not know how he is as a person yet. Okay, so you're thinking rationally. Before meeting someone, I tried to gauge how they are just to be safe. He said he wanted to see me and suggested the beach. Okay. But on the day of, he only texted, hey, without confirming the plans. His suggestions were always vague, with no specifics about time or place. Recently, he said he wanted to take me out to lunch, but asked me to choose the spot. Okay, he's starting to sound like he's wasting your time. Even though I'd already told him the type of food I like. I feel like he should be doing the proper research since he wants to see me. Now that I think about it, he never openly said he wanted to go on a date, just said he wanted to see, which I do not know how I feel about. The night before, he didn't follow up, and the next day during lunch, he just texted, hey. He didn't follow up. Annoyed, I went about my day and responded hours later without mentioning the date. There's a second part with more details. This has happened 3 times. He makes plans but never follows through or reschedules later. The second time, he brought up rescheduling after I did not bring up how we were supposed to meet. I never do, by the way, and wait for him to say something. Okay, you playing this right. But this time, after I responded, he only asked, how are you doing? Without addressing the missed plans. I'm 21 and he's 24, so I feel like he should be better at communicating. He works late, and that's all I know about him. I don't want to ghost him because it doesn't feel mature. What? Why? But I also don't want to keep texting someone who wastes my time and isn't serious about meeting in person. I feel disrespected, especially since this keeps happening. I'm not sure if this is love bombing, immaturity, or just inconsistency, but all I know is I should end whatever this is. Should I explain my feelings and part ways or just stop responding altogether? If so, how should I structure my response? I don't want to write out a whole thing explaining what he did wrong, but I also don't think ghosting is right and may come off weird to a guy you're never going to see. Okay. Because this happened 3 times, now I feel like my response would seem like it's coming out of nowhere because I sort of allowed it to go on and continued texting him. I should have ended it the first time after he would text late and at super random times in the night, but I gave him slack because he works till 4 a.m. And if he seems sorry about the whole thing and wants to make serious plans, I am willing to try. I don't want to seem like I'm forcing him. So if he wants to try again after I send my response, should I let him? Everything you said about texting consistently can create a false sense of attraction because I find myself wanting things to work with him. I also want to add, I've never been on a date, so I was looking forward to it. So maybe that's what's really making me linger on this. Anyways, thank you for your thank you in advance for your help. Update, it's been 2 days and I have not replied to his how are you doing text. Okay, E, I'm going to tell you exactly how to go about this, and it's not what you're thinking. It's going to sound toxic. I actually want you to, when he sends you a message, because he sent you a last message, right? I want you to open it. Make sure you have your reds on. It's on Instagram, so your reds should be on, so he'll know when you open his message. You're going to open his message purposely, and you're not going to respond. Then, once again, you're going to probably post a picture, post a story, whatever, you know what I mean? Clearly, you look good, because that triggers him to respond to you. And then when he responds to that story, because he'll most likely respond to that story again when he realizes you didn't message him, open it again, and then don't respond again. What's going to happen at that point, he's going to start realizing, oh, something's wrong here. She's clearly not responding to me at all anymore. What is most likely going to happen, one of 2 things going to happen. Either he's just going to give up and unfollow you, or number 2, he's going to then send you a follow-up message and say, hey, is something wrong? Did I do something? Like, are you upset? What's going on? Why aren't you responding? Then at that point, you can respond to him and say, oh, there's nothing wrong. I've just, just moving on with my life. Like, we're not really doing anything, right? You don't have to do so much explaining. You can just say there's nothing wrong. I just didn't see a point in us messaging anymore, right? And then when he asks, oh, what was the reason? Then you can say, oh, well, we haven't actually gone on any date, which is fine. But like, I'm not just going to keep messaging you. And then at that point, you leave it. Okay? And the only reason I'm saying say something once he asks, hey, is something wrong? Is something going on? Because I know you don't want to feel like you aren't telling him what's going on. So you're only going to mention that you just are moving forward because you're not into texting a whole bunch without ever meeting in person. That's the only thing you're going to say about that. After you let him know that, And whatever he chooses to do with that information is what he chooses to do with that information. So if he chooses to ask you out on a date and try and, make plans then, and you actually want to entertain it and go out with him, then you can go ahead and entertain it and see if he follows through. Now, if he does all that and then he also flops again, now, after you have told him what's going on, no more messaging. Just go ahead and unfollow him, block him if you need to. At that point, you ghost him. You told him and you communicated what your needs were and the reason you weren't messaging him, right? And once he heard that, knew that, and still went ahead and did the same thing, don't even bother re-explaining yourself. You've already done too much explaining, okay? So that's the way that you're going to do that, in a way that allows him to at least get some understanding of what's going on, but at the same time, you're not in the place of over-explaining. Remember what I said, though, and remember the order I said to do things. You're seeing this message, you're not responding. You post your next story, or you post until the next time he responds. You're going to open that again and not respond, okay? You're only going to address him once he asks you what's going on or what's the reason you're not messaging him back. Then you express, I'm not messaging you back because I'm not into texting a whole bunch and not meeting someone. It doesn't make sense, right? And then once you say that, that is all you're going to do in terms of explaining the situation away. That's the order. Don't come to him talking about what your needs are or what you need or whatever the case may be when he hasn't prompted or asked you about that. Okay? Very important that you do that way to get to set the right precedent, right? Because we want to make it seem like you just move forward, and the only reason you're explaining this to him is because he asked, not because you're desperate or you need to spend time with him. All right? Does that make sense? All right, let's go to our next question here, which comes from Girly Girl. Should I confront this N-word? Okay. Long story today. Okay, Tomisin, I'm really upset today. Should I confront my boyfriend? 5 months in the relationship. I am 26. He is 29. We live less than 30 minutes away from each other. I have no damn trust in him. Let me explain. I have his location. However, he forgot I have it. I have been having it since month 1. Never brought it up. I think you might say brought it up again. Kept it quiet. I check his location a few times a day. I don't trip over it though. I've never been through his phone nor checking every single one of his followers or following on Instagram. I'm not that girl. Multiple times, I've noticed he is going to one specific address. It's an older building. These are apartments. It's not a public area. I have no idea who lives there, and when I want to have info about what he is doing there, guess what? He doesn't mention it at all. I caught him going there at random times these past months, approximately every other week, more or less. Last time he went was on Sunday, January 5th, from 3 p.m. to 7:30 to around 8 p.m. What big dogs full of testosterone would spend that much time with another man if this is his male friend? Side note, he is not gay, or maybe he is. I don't know anymore. Wait. What do you mean maybe he is? I don't know. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean I don't know? You should know. He's supposed to be your man. To your boyfriend. You don't know? Either way, it's weird. Now I caught him there today, this morning at 6 a.m. I woke up and saw him there on the Find Me app. I called him, no answer. I texted him, no answer. He eventually texted me back at 8:30 a.m. His answer was, I just finished my second workout. BS. I might not have been born at the last rain, but I wasn't born, I think you might say last night, but I wasn't born yesterday either. I'm not stupid. Tomisin, I think he is cheating. It's not the first time I've seen him there. Also, he posted a story at 1 a.m., so he was up. Mind you, I saw all of this morning because I am a gym girly and need my beauty sleep. Next, in the comment section, this morning around 7 a.m., When he was there, I called him 4 damn times, which I never do, by the way. He never picked up. Now, I haven't talked to him at all today. I don't want to either because I am pissed. The way he acts is the same way I used to act when I was doing shady things. Wait, what? Wait, what? Huh? And I didn't want my guy I was dealing with at the moment to know about. I am aware there is something going on, but I do not have evidence to confront him. Give me your thoughts and advice. Relationship is a war, and I'm so ready to fight. Update. All right. So yesterday, I didn't talk to him. I wasn't responding to his texts nor his DMs, reels on IG. He finally called me at 4:30 p.m. I picked up the phone, very cold, dry chit-chat just for a few minutes. This is a mistake. You shouldn't do this. I'm going to tell you why. He asked me if he could come sleep over at my place. I said, sure, if you want to come over later, come. Honestly, I didn't know how to act because you couldn't advise me yesterday, so I pretended that I didn't know anything. Okay, good. Because what's the point to come up with the accusation while not having enough information nor evidence? You're very right. I'm glad you didn't do anything. On his way to my place, he called me again, and on the phone, he was so happy and excited and talkative. As soon as he arrived at my apartment, he was just minding his own business, so I matched his energy. It was awkward, not gonna lie. We barely talk. He was on his phone while watching basketball. I was doing my things, skincare, stuff like that. We didn't have a conversation. So during our talk on the phone, I said in the flow of conversation, when was the last time you slept at your place? You're doing this wrong. He said, well, last night. No, I don't think so. Otherwise, what the hell would you do at 6 a.m. there? I mean, I get what you're trying to do, but your questions are becoming a little bit too obvious. Lastly, if I ask questions, what were you doing? Where are you? You are most likely, he will most likely tell me whatever I want to hear and lie to me because he doesn't want to get caught, obviously. I'm really happy you taught us to date from a detached standpoint because otherwise the older me would have been heartbroken, and honestly, I'm good right now, so thanks. And if I have to break up with him, how should I do that? I'm having such a hard time to leave him if I have to, right? Okay, so girly girl, I'm going to do something for you to help you get an answer because I know if you're saying this here at the end of your message, you're not going to leave unless you have an answer. So we need to get you a real answer that you don't have to second guess yourself what the truth is. So let me break this down for you on exactly how you're going to do this step by step. So first things first, the worst thing you can do here is let him in on the fact that you know what's going on. You're not going to mention locations. I don't even see, this is the thing that might happen that you might mistakenly do. I don't even want you jogging his memory on the fact that you have his location. This is another mistake. Whenever you're trying to avoid a particular topic or subject, do not bring it up in a joke. Don't bring it up in gist. Anything you see about it on TikTok, don't send it to him. Don't send him nothing that could jog his memory that he has your location. This is helping you corroborate stories. So now this is your boyfriend. So, and I know you want answers. So we're going to turn you into an FBI agent. Okay. Now at this point, you're going to have to make things make sense for yourself so that when you leave, you know that you did the right thing. You're going to have to start taking screenshots when you notice he's at specific locations, right? Because your screenshot is also going to have the date and the time that you took the screenshot at. So what I want for you, simultaneously with being able to come with facts, I also don't want you to have any question in your mind what you saw, at what time, and at what day, so that you're not confused in your own mind what it actually was. So let me give you an example of that. For example, if you go on your Find My app and you see on next week on Monday that he at 6 a.m. again is at the same location, you're going to screenshot that. You're going to save that in your private hidden folder. You're going to store that. Now, the next time you see him, you don't want to be making the mistake of making it seem like as soon as he makes a move, you ask him a question about his move. Then he's going to be like, that's a really strange time to ask me a question. Instead, what you want to do is you want to wait till the next time that you see him in person, and then you ask him some questions about the things that he was doing since the last time that you saw him. Not in a natural way to go about things, right? Not a natural questions to ask. I haven't seen you in 3-4 days. What have you been doing in the 3-4 days, right? I'll tell you what I've been doing. You tell me what you've been doing. Now, what's going to happen is he's going to take you through his timeline of events on each and every day. Right? He might say, oh, so on Monday, you know, I went to the gym and I just did a little bit of grocery shopping and whatever the case may be, right? And then what I want you to do, this is where you're going to get really sneaky with asking your specific questions, because what's probably going to happen is he's probably going to be really vague about the day that he spent at that person's house, okay? And you should anticipate that. You don't want to specifically ask a question about that day because that'll make it too obvious that you know something happened on that day. What you want to do is when you see him for the first time and not having seen him for a couple of days, ask him questions first about his other days, which he was actually at home, so he can yap about those things, and then make a comment like, oh, yeah, on Monday though, yeah, I swear you were saying something about being at the gym or whatever the case may be, but you don't usually go out on Mondays, do you? Or did you work legs that day at the gym? Which one did you do? And then let him talk about his day. The other thing that I want you to do is, as you're having casual conversation with him, one of the common questions is just be like, oh, what are you up to? What are you doing? What'd you do today? And things like that. During those text conversations, I want you to just casually ask him what's up and what he's doing at the regular times you would regularly ask that. You're going to take that information and you're going to corroborate it with what he says later when you see him in person. But you got to make sure when you ask him the question over text, it's not as soon as you see he's in the different location. Wait till much later in the day. And you want to make sure that you just ask him very casually and move on. Don't dig deep into it. You just want to see if he's going to tell you something that makes sense, and you obviously know where he was at the time, right? So now, after a while of doing this, right, you want to do this a couple times because obviously he goes back and forth there. You're now going to decide to yourself what you want to do with this information, because at a certain point, right, it becomes obvious, which you're already getting this sense, right, that he is at a different place than he's telling you he's been at. Now you have direct evidence, though, that and screenshots that he's at a different place than he's been telling you he's at. You also know it can't be for no surprise. It's not for no planning. And the other thing that I want you, in case you don't already know, I'm assuming you already know all his guy friends and you already know how much he spends time with them and who he does or doesn't spend time with. Now, there's no way of you actually knowing who lives in that apartment building. So I want you to get yourself out of the mindset that you're going to find out who lives in that apartment building. He's probably going to keep that hidden from you. But the reality of it is, if he's going to be willing to go somewhere and not tell you about it, and you can confirm that he's on an ongoing basis lying about the place that he's going, at a certain point, you have to realize that this means something is going on, even if you can't put your finger on it exactly. Now, at that point, you can continue digging and trying to investigate to find out which girl it is or which guy it is, maybe in your case or scenario. But I can assure you anything outside of that will kind of end up being a waste of your time, because he's not going to be inclined to tell you the truth. And I'm sure he's going to make up something to make it sound nicer or whatever the case may be. The only reason I'm giving you this advice is because I want you to see on multiple occasions this will happen. And I want you to see that it's not once in a time coincidence. You have the screenshot at 6 a.m. like you said, right? Oh, you said you already have the screenshot when he goes? Yep, he always tries to be vague whenever I question him. I know his guy friends, right? I check with the website to know who lives there. Wait, what? Wait, what? How would you check with the... Okay. So if you know who lives there, you can Google the names or search them on Instagram or whatever the case may be. But you have to also understand there comes a point of diminishing returns. What I mean by that is, does knowing which girl lives there actually serve you? Probably not. What you're trying to answer for yourself is he doing something shady and inappropriate? If the answer to that is yes, then you just break up with him. You don't necessarily need to know, oh, is the shady or inappropriate thing he's doing with this girl he met at the club or with my best friend? Like, it doesn't really matter, right? At that point, right? So you just want to ensure that what you're seeing is what you're seeing. And then from there, my advice to you would be to come to him with an already... You have to come to him knowing what you already want to do with this information. So what I mean by that is if you're seeing this on a regular basis and you've already decided that this is worthy enough of breaking up with the person because this is so secretive that there's no real explanation for this, then what you need to do is you need to go in with your mind set on breaking up with him. Okay? And I know this is going to sound weird, but you have to anticipate he's going to lie. He's going to twist the truth, and he's going to tell you some sort of sob story to try and get himself out of it. But realistically, there is no excuse. And this is where, okay, this is going to sound weird, but you're in a very special situation. You need to go into, when you finally confront him, with being ready to break up with him. You need to accept that if your assumption of the fact that he cheated or whatever the case is not true, he will go above and beyond to try and prove to you why it's not true. And if there actually is some coincidence, maybe he's at his boy's house or whatever the case may be, he will be able to factually corroborate a story and show you factual evidence of who he's staying with, why he's staying there, and there will be an explanation that actually makes sense. But he will go about getting you all of those facts and that information if it's really untrue what your assumption is. Okay? So the reason I say that is because I don't want you to have in your mind when you go to confront him that you're confronting him to see what he says. You need to confront him with the understanding that you're just confronting him to tell him why you're breaking up with him. Then let him decide if this is actually untrue, how he's going to prove to you that it's untrue. Don't be looking for your excuse of how he's going to explain this away. Have the assumption that he's doing something wrong, then let him prove to you he's not doing something wrong. And if the evidence isn't overwhelming, the reason that, he's showing you, oh, but it's this, and look at this message that I sent to this person, and look at this picture that corroborates the story, and look at this, when I was there, I took a picture and I did this and I did that and I did this, right? Trust me, when someone is telling the truth, there will be happy coincidences that will show why they're telling the truth. Vice versa, if he just starts mumbling, bumbling, and stumbling, and he's telling you things that don't make a damn bit of sense with nothing to corroborate his story, understand that he's lying to you. Okay? Right? So because you already have your screenshots and because you already know that he's being vague and weird with his questions, you can go ahead and skip right to that step if you want. But what I want to warn you of, if you don't feel yet resolved in knowing that this is so strange that it can't be anything else except some other woman, if you're not yet resolved in that, knowing that it's too weird for it to be a coincidence, then continue gathering more information. But if you feel like, nah, this is already so weird that it can't be anything else but another woman, then go ahead and break up with him. And you can tell him why you're breaking up with him and then allow him to prove to you how this is untrue if it's untrue. And if his evidence towards you isn't overwhelming, along with corroborating stories and text messages and pictures that would make his story make sense, then don't even bother entertaining anything he has to say to you. Okay? Does that make sense, girly girl? I hope it does. All right, let's go on to our next, Let's go on to our next question here. How to catch a cheater. That's so funny. All right, so Kick says, what's the best way to pace a relationship? Please teach me. Okay. Hi, Tomisin. Why did you spell my same name like it's Tomisin? I'm a 28-year-old black woman. I'm not dating anyone at the moment, but I've done that in the past. Been following your channel since I stumbled on one of your videos. Sometime 3 weeks ago, and I truly want to, sometime 3 weeks ago, you stumbled across my videos, and I truly want to adhere to the things you've said, which I've done my research on and found to be solid. Based on my previous experiences, I'm doing all I can to learn better ways to show up so that I can get a mutually fulfilling long-term relationship that leads to marriage with the man God has for me. My question is, what's the best way to pace a talking stage with a guy? Sometime last year, I tried to establish rules of not speaking every day on the phone to a guy I was seeing at the time, and he took that as me being controlling. Meanwhile, I was thinking sustainability. Speaking every day and night with a guy I just met is pretty weird to me because I don't know who he is yet, and I'm not sure of his intentions either. So I wouldn't want to attach myself to him ignorantly. As someone who likes to gradually build trust with a guy before incorporating him into my life, how do I do this right without unintentionally sabotaging the connection? I'd appreciate you sharing practical ways to pace a relationship. P.S. I don't sleep with men before marriage, so sex is not a part of the discussion for me. It is more pacing phone calls, dates, video calls, etc. Thank you. Okay, so my advice to you here, in your situation, Kicks, is when a guy, so there's a feminine way to go about this. When you know that you don't want to be speaking to a guy every single day because you know that's not the type of way you want to be building a relationship, rather than trying to tell him, hey, let's speak once every 2 or 3 days, or let's not speak every day. All you need to do is when he calls you, you don't answer. When he texts you, sometimes you don't answer. When he reaches out to you, sometimes you just can't be found. And then you come up with the excuse, hey, sorry, I was busy. I was doing A, B, and C, and I apologize for not being able to answer your call or your text or whatever the case may be. And then you can put in the reminder that I promise you, this is where you can kind of do your little playfulness. I promise, you can put a smiley face. I am so much better in person, right? And you can put your little LOL or your emojis to make it seem harmless and playful, right? The reason I say that is because you're giving a little nudge and a little suggestion that, hey, I'm a busy girl. I got things to do. I'm here one day, here the other day. Everyone wants my time. I can't be available to chit chat over the phone 24/7, but it's not because I'm not interested in you. It's also not because I don't want to go out on a date with you. And I think that was the problem you were suffering from, right? You don't want to talk every day, but you also don't want guys to think that you're uninterested in them. So it's a delicate balance, right? But the reason I want you to do that way is because it's playful enough that guys will still be able to take it as, oh, you are busy, you have things to do, we can't be chit-chatting over the phone every day. But they also don't take it as, oh, you're just not interested in me, meaning you don't want to talk to me at all. Maybe if I see you in person or plan something with you in person, I'll get that good side of you like you're mentioning here, because you wouldn't mention how better you are in person if you didn't actually want to spend some in-person time with me. Then once you give that suggestion, and once this is happening over and over again and you continue giving that suggestion, you leave it to the men to take action on that suggestion. Okay. If he can't put those 2 and 2 together, then he's not even emotionally intelligent enough that you need to be in a relationship with this man anyways. Okay. Once you make it that clear that, hey, I be busy if you gonna contact me over the phone, me not busy if you plan schedule time with me in person. When you in person, you get a lot of focus and attention from me. If he can't put it together what he needs to do from there, then you just go ahead and move forward, okay? And be okay with that, because you have to understand part of being with the man that you need is also having a man that understands how to take action on your desires and the things that make you happy. He should also have a desire to see you in general. So anytime you bring up or encourage the fact that you want to see him in person as well, that should be like an open floor for him where he feels like, oh, I've been waiting to ask you out on a date. Now that you're saying this, because, now that I can, also be reassured that you want to see me and spend time with me, I would love to ask you out and, we spend some time together. Let's schedule a date, right? You have to let guys take that initiative and take that action after you give your suggestion there in a nice little feminine, playful way. But the best way to do that, instead of telling him what he should do or telling him how much you guys should talk, is to just not answer him when he calls you every time or texts you every time. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Let's hop into our soups. Let's see here. Our next question here. Let me scroll down. Gotta scroll way down. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so this one comes from LP Baby. LP Baby says, is this a reasonable standard expectation? Okay. Hi, Tommy. One main concern / question I have regarding men and male behavior / psychology is it reasonable and realistic to find a man to be our husband / life partner that doesn't have any female friends? This sounds so ideal for my future boyfriend / husband to not have any female friends, but I understand that most men have friends of both genders, and I know that men have eyes and are visual creatures. Do such men with no female friends even exist? Is this boundary that men who actually like me will respect my wishes to not have platonic female friends? Recall my previous ex didn't want to stop hanging out with one of his childhood female friends and wanted to remain best friends with his ex-girlfriend. Okay. In retrospect, I know it was my fault for entering this relationship, just mentioning this for context. To me, I would love to demand and require this standard: no platonic female friends and no solo dates with female friends in a monogamous relationship and ultimately marriage. But on the other hand, I do realize that this may come across as unreasonable and controlling and can be misinterpreted. For example, my ex thought I was isolating him when I demanded him to stop being friends with his ex-girlfriend and his childhood female friends. How can I suggest/mention directly state the standard or boundary of no female friends and no solo friend dates with female friends? Overall, should I mention this early on in dating men so they know my standard? Overall, would I have to kiss a lot of frogs or burn through a bunch of men by dating a lot of different men until I meet the right man, aka future Mr. LP baby, that will respect my standard and boundary? I want to know from you, a reasonable man, if my boundary/standard even makes sense. Will men cut female friends off for their girlfriend and wife or the women they love? I'm skeptical because my ex claimed to love me, but wouldn't give up his friends and ex-girlfriend best friendship. Right? See below, please. Would love to know your thoughts, recommendations on how to communicate this standard or boundary and your perspective. Thanks always for reading and for your patience. Okay, LP baby. The easiest answer that I can give you here, and this is going to sound a little bit backwards, is to not talk about this as a boundary of yours first. The reason for this is so when you date, what you have to understand, there's a difference between dating and your preferences and your boundaries. In terms of your preferences are things that you would like, right, in a person that you're dating, and your boundaries and things like that. But there's also what we have to describe as morals and values, meaning there are particular ways about approaching life and particular understandings of what is appropriate and inappropriate in a relationship that stand for your morals and values, okay? Your morals and values should very much be in alignment with your man's morals and values. Meaning, when it comes to the idea of it being inappropriate to have female friends, right? I don't necessarily think having a friend who is a woman is bad, but I think having a best friend that I spend all my time with, talk to every day of the week, and I hang out and, like you mentioned, go on solo dates, and me and her hang out in a group, just one-on-one, that is inappropriate, right? I think that crosses a boundary. I don't think that it's bad for men to have friends who are women, because I think women can give an interesting perspective on life and help gain an understanding of how they think and what they want when you're able to be friends with them and have conversation with them. But I definitely think that friendship is supposed to take a step back when you start building a relationship with someone romantically. Now, what needs to happen, though, is when you go out into your dating life, you need to ask the men that you're dating what they think about that and what their stance is on that, void of your own perspective and opinion. So this is how you approach that. When you're on your dates, you just casually bring up, so when you're dating, like, what do you think about, relationships, just as it relates to your friends and like managing friends and relationships, right? And with your romantic partner, how do you usually go about that? Do you like to keep all your friendships, or do you think that, you probably want to give more time to your romantic partner, right? Just ask a general question like that and let the men flow where they will flow. You're going to hear them talk about friendships in correlation to their relationship, and you'll get a sense of what they think about what a relationship should look like in correlation with their friendships. Let them speak to you what their morals and values are in terms of this, okay? Then as you gather that information, you then decide, are you aligned in my morals and values, or are you not? Because if that person is not aligned with your morals and values, there is no telling them your boundary. And I know this sounds weird and toxic because I know it sounds like I'm saying don't communicate what your boundary is. What I'm saying is have your boundary be your boundary, but also understand that the men who see it your way will see it your way, and it won't have to be something that's misunderstood in your relationship. The men who don't see it your way, you telling them that this is your boundary is not going to make them magically see it your way. What you're facing there is a difference in your morals and values in terms of your approach to a relationship. So there is no real like compromise there if you're on opposite sides of the spectrum. And it's better to get the information of what he feels or thinks about that genuinely to him rather than trying to get him to see it your way. Okay? Because just like with your ex here that you mentioned, you will be frustrated trying to spend a whole relationship with him to see it your way. Rather, let's get you in alignment with someone who already thinks the way that you do in a very important place like this, and then figuring out how you can only invest your time into those people. Okay? Right? So very important part of your relationships here to be in alignment on. Okay? All right, chat. That is the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, whether it be in our free section, our premium relationship advice section, or our private section, you can always ask me a question by sending it in through the link in my bio on TikTok or the link in my description on YouTube. For those of you who are watching me on TikTok and you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head on the top left corner of the screen. It's Tomisin_a_tub. For those of you who are watching me on YouTube, it's also at the bottom there, and you can find my Instagram username that way. For those of you who want to catch me live again, I should say this first. For those of you who are watching on TikTok and you want to rewatch the show from start to finish because you missed parts or you came late, my YouTube is just above my head. It's my first name, Tomisin, Tomisin. On YouTube, you can go there. You can go into the live section of my YouTube page, and then you'll be able to see this live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. You'll also be able to go and see the YouTube and TikTok chat embedded in the video, so you won't miss a second of conversation, okay? I'm here every weekday, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you got to figure out what time that is in your time zone. I will be here again on Monday because obviously today's Friday. I'm not here on the weekend, but I will be posting on my YouTube channel. So keep an eye on that. All right. Until we meet again on Monday, I bid you adieu. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. Ciao. Salam. Arrivederci. Au revoir. Adios. Sayonara. Hasta la vista. I think I already said that one. Ciao. Salam. Bon voyage. And I'll see you again tomorrow. I always say tomorrow. I'll see you again on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, have a great weekend. I love you so much. Stay safe. Don't do anything that will have you in our Discord. Okay? All right? And I'll see you again on Monday.